Welcome back to Financial Clarity for Doctors, everyone. This is Rachelle Vanderzanden here with Corey Janoff.
I'm here too.
Woo woo. It is midsummer by the time we publish this, so summer end will be approaching. And all of our back to work and back to school feelings. Obviously, most of us work throughout the summer, but maybe not as hard. That's how I feel like it is usually for us. But it's a great time to kind of unplug, relax, spend some quality time doing the things that we love, which also means sometimes we spend a little extra over the summer, which isn't necessarily the end of the world, but something to think about. And maybe now is a good time to just do a quick review. As summer draws to the end, we want to do a little mid-year reflecting on your financial plan, like what's going well, what's not going well. So today we're going to spend some time just kind of focusing in on what matters in terms of our financial planning, like what are our goals? Are we doing a good job of kind of working towards those goals? Do we feel like summer was purposely maybe more expensive? Like it's okay to spend more money if you're doing it because you're spending money on the things that you care about and the things that you want to do. And then as long as it's not derailing your other goals, generally that's going to be just fine. But today we're just going to kind of run through a checklist of the things that you can reflect on mid-year to make sure that you're on a good track to finish the year strong.
Yeah, so when you finish your book and you don't want to get up from your poolside lounge chair just yet, you could start thinking about these things and maybe pull up your phone, start looking at some of the financial items. But a lot of things that we could do that are good to spot check midway through the year. And it doesn't have to be summer exactly, or hey, every July we got to do this. No, this
Mm-mm.
is just kind of midway through the year. Tax season's behind us, school's coming up, end of year things, we want to get maybe done before then, but these are the not super time sensitive, but good to spot check. So earnings and spending, what are we on pace to make this year? How's our spending shaking up? How's the cash flow? Are we cash flow positive? We've probably already paid for the summer vacations. So, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the big spending is behind us. Taxes are probably behind us for most of you. Some of you are on quarterly estimated payments. Um, but we'll get to more on taxes here in a little bit. If we're a little light in the savings account, maybe thinking about how we can rebuild that in the back half of the year. And if you're on a variable income, like it's production based or inconsistent, what could we potentially do to either boost that production or make sure our cash flow is positive in the back half of the year, so we're sitting pretty by the time the holidays roll around and spending ramps up again.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I think the other thing that this can do for you is if you feel like you're in a good spot with cash flow coming out of the more expensive time of year, it's a good time to stop and be like, we're doing okay. That was fine. Like, stop feeling guilty about your spending. If you haven't derailed all your other goals and you have plenty of money in the bank, then why are you feeling guilty? It's okay. Like, that's another good way to think about just checking on your cash flow. Like, for most of our clients, like you probably make enough that you don't need to spend a lot of time doing like the nitty-gritty budgeting. This is not about like looking at things down to the penny. It's like, what did we spend overall? Are we still on track to reach our goals? If not, let's make some adjustments. But if so, again, stop dwelling on it. It's okay.
The really simple way to do it is my bank account growing or shrinking? And if
Or
your bank,
staying kind of
yeah, or
even, you
staying
know?
even, if it's
Yeah.
staying even or growing, it means you're cash flow positive. If it's dwindling every month, it's a little less than the previous month, that means you're spending more than you're making. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where maybe we look a little closer. But
Yep, for sure.
let's see. Some other things that are good to spot check midway through the year are the long-term savings and retirement plans, since a lot of those have limits to how much you can put in each year, and you can't go back and fund it once the year is over. So like your 401k, 403b, workplace retirement accounts, 24,500 is the maximum most of you can put in. If you're 50 or older, you can do 32,500, and if you're in that window from 60 to 64, you can do a little extra on top of that. If you're self-employed, you could do 72,000 or 80,000 if you're 50 and up, if assuming your earnings are sufficient enough to allow for that. Backdoor Roths, have we funded those yet? If not, when are we going to fund them for the year? 7,500 a person this year, 8,600 if age 50 or older. You technically have up until the tax deadline to fund your backdoor Roth IRAs, your 401k. So I guess backing up, your as an employee, your 401k contributions are withheld from your paychecks throughout the year. So you got to get those in by your final paycheck in December in order to max it out. Um, if you're self-employed, you can do your quote unquote employer profit sharing contributions all the way up until the tax deadline or tax extension deadline. Same with the backdoor Roths. You have until the tax deadline to fund that, not the extension deadline, just the normal April 15th deadline. However, it's a lot cleaner and easier for your taxes if you contribute to your IRA and convert to the Roth IRA prior to December 31st. And this doesn't mean December 30th go in to try and do it. It means like early December go in and try to do it. Because with most of you, if you're doing an ACH contribution, the money's going to have to sit in the account for 5 business days before it can be converted to Roth. And that sometimes can take a few days to process. So you got to give it a couple weeks to avoid the New Year's deadline.
Yeah.
Not
I
that
think
it's
with
really a
those,
deadline, but it makes taxes a lot cleaner if it happens
a
all in the
lot
calendar
simpler.
year.
Yeah, if you're planning or thinking about doing a backdoor Roth, definitely a good idea to either check with your financial advisor or an accountant to make sure that you can do that, like that's allowable for you. It's a pretty complicated process, and there's some kind of guidelines and things like that that you need to make sure that you're following. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you are planning to do that this year and you have in prior years, it's just important to make sure you're going to have that cash flow. If there's two of you, that's maybe $15,000 total, $7,500 each. And that's not, like a crazy amount of money, but it's a chunk. If we need to make sure we're actively saving money a little bit each month to make sure that happens by the end of the year, that's a good thing to have in mind, at least by over the summer. So you've got a plan in place to make sure you have the cash to do that.
Let's see if you got some
Yeah.
extra cash on hand. What else could we consider doing that'll put our money to efficient use? Maybe increase our deposits to a brokerage account or throw in a lump sum. If college savings is a priority for you, take a look at the 529 accounts. Are we doing auto monthly deposits or random lump sums? Depending on your state, you might get a state tax deduction up to a certain amount if you contribute that amount. So you don't have to contribute all the way up to that amount. Some states, it's a pretty large number that's more than you probably
Hmm.
need to save. But other states, it's a smaller number. New this year, the Section 530A accounts, aka Trump accounts. As of July 6th, you can open these. I think July 4th, technically, but I don't know if it was official then.
Well, it's also a
But
holiday. You
it
can't
was
open
a
an account
holiday. Yeah.
and a weekend.
Yeah, the way I poked around and looked at it, it's like you have to download the app and do it through the app. I think it's ultimately custodied at Robinhood. Um, but you fill out the info in the app and then it takes a couple days to process and then you're supposedly notified and then you can fund the account if your child if you have anyone with a child under 18 can open them and contribute on behalf of their child. Um, anyone who had a child born between 2025 and 2028 is eligible to receive the free $1,000 from the government as the seed funding.
Hmm.
And there's this form that it prompts you to fill out that goes with your taxes to be eligible for that seed funding. And I'm not sure if that will get deposited in April or when you do your taxes or how that exactly works, but at some point, an extra $1,000 should show up in your account. Maybe it's right away. I haven't heard from anyone who's done it and received it yet. It's only
Hmm.
been, we're recording this on July 8th. So it's, uh,
Very fresh.
yeah, very, very fresh. But anyways, you can put up to 5,000 a year into those accounts, all the way up until the kid, becomes an 18-year-old and then the account is theirs and essentially is treated like a traditional IRA at that point. So if you're wanting to jumpstart your kid's retirement, this could be a decent thing to consider. Um, but if not, then you could gloss over that one.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of tax considerations for that one as well, because you don't get a tax deduction for putting money in. So it's a little bit different than like a common traditional IRA, which is usually used as a pre-tax vehicle. So definitely something to think about and just go through the pros and cons. But yeah, I mean, if you have extra money in the bank and you don't need it for your short-term expenses or for your emergency reserves, like try to get it to work a little harder for you. If you haven't done your backdoor Roth contributions and that's something that you're planning to do, maybe knock those out, put a little extra money in your accounts, like all of that kind of stuff. Another thing to think about is if you are in the process of kind of trimming down the size of your estate over time and you want to gift money, like that's part of your plan is I want to gift money each year, maybe start thinking about when you want to do that. You can do up to the $19,000 like gift tax exclusion amount per person. So if that's something that you're planning to do, just make sure that you have a good timeline in mind for getting that done before the end of the year. Again, a good thing to check on with your accountant if you have one. And then the last thing is just maybe spot check your investments. If you're self managing your investments and you're using like a specific like index or ETF or mutual fund portfolio, whatever it is, and you have like a specific goal in mind, over time your investments will move. The S&P 500 may do better than the international index, and maybe now your allocation is just off from what the original intention was. So that's something to review periodically to see if you want to rebalance it. What were my original intentions? What's my risk tolerance? All that kind of stuff. Do I need to make some adjustments? Has this kind of drifted far enough that it makes sense to do that? And obviously when you're managing your own investments, you got to kind of make those decisions, but it's important just to review periodically to see like what has happened. Have things moved? Have they moved enough that I'm concerned about it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, with Roth IRAs, workplace retirement accounts, easy to rebalance those with non-retirement taxable accounts. Rebalancing, meaning selling something that's overweight and buying something that's underweight, can cause some tax consequences for you. So that's something you want to look a little closer at before pushing the sell button. Um, Maybe it's easier to rebalance by addition if you just add to whatever's underweight over the coming months. On back to the gifting thing really quick, that 19,000, like anyone, you can gift more than that. It's just if you
Hmm.
do, you're supposed to file an extra form with your taxes, and that extra amount goes against your lifetime giving limit, which is for a married couple federally 32 million or 30 million this year, 32 next year, whatever, a large number.
A big number.
Different states have different thresholds as well. So depending on the state you live in, it may be a smaller threshold. Um, but something to be mindful of there. And it's any individual can gift another individual. So like I could gift
Each of
my
your kids.
yeah, like well, let's like maybe separate it for a second. Like I could gift my brother 19,000. I could gift his wife 19,000. I could gift his child 19,000, and like on down the list. And then my wife Lindsay could gift my brother 19, his wife. So like it wouldn't be hard to gift a family over $100,000 if as a married couple and not have to worry about that gift tax exclusion limit. So there's kind of
Hmm.
some workarounds there.
Yep, totally. I think another important thing to kind of reflect on is just the use of your workplace benefits. A lot of times people don't even know the benefits that are available to them, but if you do have benefits available to you, like are we doing our annual checkup with our doctor? Are we getting our teeth cleaned? Are we using our vacation days? I think that's huge. Like if you have a specific number of vacation days and they expire after a certain amount of time, like maybe it's time to plan some vacations between now and the end of the year. Like even if it's a staycation, even if you're not going anywhere, but you have 14 days that you're just not going to use, hey, let's book a couple of blocks of time off so we can hang out with the fam and like do whatever we need to do around the house or just, you know,
Go to the
spend
dentist, get
time.
a
Yeah.
haircut, meet with your financial advisor.
Exactly. Yep. And maybe if it's not like use it or lose it vacation hours, then they roll over for a while. May not be as big of a deal, but also like you deserve a vacation, so maybe think about it. And then for some places of employment, you may be able to cash in your hours instead of using them. If you're a person that really likes to work, cool. You just got a little extra money in your pocket. So make sure you're reviewing those vacation policies and you understand how they work so that you're taking kind of full advantage of any of those benefits that are available to you. Another thing to think about at work is, are you saving into any use it or lose it accounts? So any like flexible spending accounts for healthcare or dependent care. Do you have a plan to use that money before the deadline, whatever it is? Most workplaces will have like a slight like kind of buffer at the end of the year, but a use it or lose it balance generally is like you put money in 26, you better use it for 2026. And then maybe within like a short window in 2027. So make sure you understand any of those deadlines. You have plans to use that money. Otherwise, it just gets reabsorbed by the plan. Like you just lose it. Like it just goes back into the plan and, is maybe used for the benefit of other benefits like doing 401k matching or something like that. But basically that money's not yours anymore after you lose it, which is not cool if you're just doing it for the purpose of saving on taxes and then you just lose money instead.
Just continuing with benefits, if some of you are on an academic year, well, you're probably past open enrollment with typically a
Mm-hmm.
June timeframe, but wouldn't hurt to start looking at your benefit elections for the fall so that you can be prepared for 2027 when open enrollment comes along. Could be a good time to ask for a raise or negotiate a promotion. You're like, hey, I've been here for a few years and haven't seen a pay raise. Let's talk. And I think I saw, I'm totally making this up, but like the majority of people who ask for pay raises get pay raises. So ask and you shall receive. Worst they can tell you is no. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you might have your feelings hurt, but that's a you problem, I guess. So
You'll probably get over it
yeah, get
eventually.
over it. But yeah, I
Oh,
mean, you don't have to be, ridiculous about it. Like, hey, I need an extra
yeah.
500,000 here. No, like, hey, let's reassess. It's time to look at my contract. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, negotiate tactfully, and odds are you'll probably get a little bit more money. Um, let's see, tax planning. Another one that's in the summer. Who wants to talk about taxes in the summer? We just did taxes a few months ago. Well, it's now that we're halfway through the year, and it doesn't hurt to do a mid-year tax projection, especially if you're a dual income household or self-employed and you have variable income. Hand your tax professional year-to-date pay stubs. Give them your
Profit and loss, whatever it is.
yeah,
Yep.
or income and estimated tax payments that you've been making quarterly if you're self-employed. But if you're both W-2 employees, here's our year-to-date pay stub, which will show your gross earnings, taxes withheld for state and federal, and then they can quickly calculate if you guys are on track or if you're overpaying taxes or underpaying taxes, assuming your income will stay the same the rest of the year. And obviously note if there's any things worth changing, be like, hey, I received a large bonus in March that, the rest of the year I'm only going to receive normal paychecks. So here's where my income should end up. Or, hey, I'm expected to receive a big bonus in October or whatever it is. Here's what it might be. So they can factor that into the equation. But the whole point is to hopefully avoid any surprises in April, or if need be, maybe adjust your W-4 moving forward. If it's like, hey, you guys are overpaying taxes at the current pace, all else being equal, you're going to get a $30,000 refund. Well, that means we're paying an extra $2,500 a month in taxes that we don't need to be paying. Maybe we dial
Mm-hmm.
it back a little bit on our withholdings. Or if the reverse is true, you guys are going to owe 30,000 in April. Maybe you're cool with that and you'll just plan to write the check. But maybe you plan to adjust your withholdings so that a little bit more is withheld moving forward, so you don't have to write a big check every spring.
Yeah, for sure. It's helpful to at least know what's coming, which if you do a little spot checking over the summer, that might help you with that. Another thing to consider from a tax planning perspective is Roth conversions. So, Roth conversion is generally where you take money from a pre tax retirement account, like a traditional IRA or a rollover IRA or an old 401k or 403b or something like that, and you move those dollars into a Roth IRA. When you do that, you pay taxes on it in the year that the dollars are converted. So if you do a conversion from a pre-tax account to a Roth account in 2026, that money's going to get added to your taxable income for 2026. That can be attractive in some situations. If you kind of look and assess and you think I'm in a lower tax bracket now than I likely will be in the future, that could be a good time to do it. So if you're in training or you're finishing up training, like as a resident or a fellow, and your income is lower compared to what it will likely be in the future, that could be a good time to consider it. But you just have to make sure you understand, like, what are the tax consequences going to be? Like, what am I going to owe approximately in taxes if I do that? Can I afford that? Does it make sense? And then you can kind of decide from there, like, how much you want to convert. So if you have an old 401k and there's $30,000 in there, you could convert the entire balance or you could convert part of the balance. Like, it just kind of depends on what you want to do. So that's something to think about. It can also be attractive for people who are fairly early on in retirement. if you have large balances in pre-tax retirement plans and you don't have to take money out of those accounts yet, like you're not at the age where you have required minimum distributions, then you could choose to take some money out of those pre-tax accounts and convert it into Roth accounts, knowing that, maybe before you're taking RMDs, your tax bracket might be a little bit lower than it will be in the future. So another one of those more complicated strategies that's kind of important to chat with an accountant about and understand like what the tax consequences will be and if it's a good time to do it and if it's possible for you and all of that kind of stuff. But that's a good thing to plan like this time of year because you don't want to be stuck in December trying to decide very quickly like how much we want to convert, what's going to be the tax consequence, do I have time to do this, and all of that kind of stuff. Like just plan ahead so that you're not scrambling quite as much.
And speaking of RMDs, for any of you listening that are in your
Oh, I guess
70s
that's
or
true.
older,
Good point.
you got to take your RMDs before the end of the year. So
Yeah.
see what you're required to take. It's based on the end of year balance last year, and make sure you're going to take that money out of your pre-tax accounts before year end. Otherwise, there's some steep penalties for not doing it on time.
No fun.
Um, no fun.
You can blame your financial advisor though.
If you have one, yeah, you can. It's actually it is a if somehow, and it happens, the RMDs slip through the cracks and aren't taken by December 31st, like you can your financial advisor can help you draft up a letter and say, hey, my financial advisor's an idiot. Can you forgive me, please, and not penalize me so harshly? And usually the IRS, despite their reputation, is, they'll work with you. If you call your error and try and correct it, they're pretty lenient.
Yeah. I
Um,
guess we shouldn't assume that they always will be,
they
but
reserve the right to bring down the hammer, but
yep, for sure.
yeah, they're people too. They know honest mistakes happen. As long as you're, trying to get it right, then they'll
Mm-hmm.
work with you. If you're trying to cheat the tax code, then that's where you get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's see. More boring stuff. Reviewing insurances. Home, auto, umbrella, liability insurance. Is it sufficient? Do we need more? Have our rates gone up a bunch? Should we consider shopping around? Do we have enough liability on our home and auto? Is our umbrella? Maybe we bump that up since it's been a few years and our income and net worth has risen and we only have 1 million of liability. Maybe we need 2, 3, 5 million of liability. It's
Mm-hmm.
not very expensive. So,
More
worth
expensive than it used to be, for sure.
true. But like you could get 5 million of umbrella coverage, I think, for most people in most states for under $1,000 a year. It's not super pricey. Rochelle's shaking her head no.
Not in California, that's for darn
I
sure.
said for most people in most states. Like forget about
There's too
California.
many people that live in California. Okay,
And too
anyway.
many people want to sue each other there. But
Uh-huh.
uh but yeah, if you live in Oregon or a better state than California, then then it shouldn't be as expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see, disability and life insurance. Yeah, when was the last time you increased your disability insurance? Has your income gone up since then? Maybe we consider bumping it up some more if we rely on our income. What about life insurance? How much do we have? How long does it last? Is that going to last long enough? And is it enough for our lifestyle currently and the lifestyle we want the people we leave behind to be able to live if we're no longer around? So good to review those numbers and if need be, get some more. Or if you feel like, hey, I'm pretty good, I don't need this much insurance anymore, that's when we can look at canceling some
Yeah.
of it, which is a fun day.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to kind of touch on for a second too. Like as you get older and you've saved for retirement and you're doing a good job of like working towards your goals, eventually you'll get to the point where you're not as reliant on your income anymore. And at that point you can really decide like, is this disability insurance something that I still feel like is necessary in my plan and for my family or for myself? And the same thing with life insurance. Like the goal is to get to a point where you don't need it anymore. Like we want to get people to the point where they're financially independent and not necessarily relying on some of these other insurances. But while you're young, while you're early in your career, while you have kids at home and things like that, most people do need those coverages.
Another one, long-term care. Maybe once you're in your 40s, that could be something to start considering if if you think you might need that or want it to help have insurance cover cost of care when you're older. Um, most for traditional long-term care, most companies won't even issue policies if you're under the age of 40, but you could get life insurance with a long-term care rider, which is becoming increasingly popular. So something to keep on the radar as you age every year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking of aging, estate planning.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone
Yeah.
should have an estate plan regardless of age, but becomes more of a probable need as you get older.
Just slightly more relevant.
Yes, slightly. The odds
Just slightly
increase
more
that
relevant.
the estate will need to be planned
Yeah,
for.
you can touch base and like just double check your estate plan. If you already have one, make sure it still makes sense. Update your like if I die letter for your family. Like, hey, this is where you find this. This is who you should reach out to. Here are some passwords, important contact information, all of that kind of thing. Like, hopefully, like the top of your list is like these are the people that you can reach out to help you with this because really, like, you don't want your people to have to deal with all of that stuff. Like, the second you pass away. Hopefully there's someone that can kind of help them. Even if you don't have an active financial advisor, even if you just have like the insurance agent that helped you with your life insurance policy, for example, like that can even be helpful just to have on there. So all that kind of stuff. I think also like if you have a relationship with your parents where they are willing to talk to you about finances, might be a good time just to touch base with them. Be like, hey, is there anything that you need help with before the end of the year, like with your estate planning? Like, do you want me to look over this with you? Are there any things that you're going to want me to take care of if something happens to you? Like, what am I responsible for? Those kinds of conversations can be really helpful to have. Um,
And even if they don't
yeah.
like talking about their finances with you,
Yeah.
start poking and prodding them and get them eventually to wear down and talk to you because
Yes.
their
Some
financial
gentle.
situation will become yours one day.
Yep, some gentle persistence may be helpful in that situation. Yeah, so it's great to get yourself on sort of a semi-annual review mode once in the new year, once coming out of summer, maybe would be a good goal. If it doesn't happen, don't beat yourself up about it. Like I think Corey and I always say, like, let's do it once a year at a minimum. But if you do it once per year, there might be a couple things that bite you a little bit. Like, oh, I ended up owing more in taxes than I expected because I earned more money than I expected because I just didn't spot check midway through the year. So lots of different things that it's very helpful to have that mid-year kind of reflection point too.
And if you're working with a financial advisor and you actually meet with them occasionally, a lot of this stuff will be tackled during those
Hmm.
review meetings. So that's what we're here for. Keep you on track and make sure you're addressing these things every year and adjusting as the rules change and numbers change and limits change.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, you got this.
yes, you do. All right. Well, good chatting with you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.